Southwestern family of companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, our diversely and amazingly accomplished guests share their insights and inspirations to help us ignite our own. So let's invest attention together to breathe, to reflect and refocus, and decisively defeat that voice we call Mr. Mediocrity. Then let's enjoy moving forward to make a positive difference in our world. Privileged to be your host, this is Dan Moore. Welcome to the Action Catalyst. We look forward to sharing with you today a special episode. It's part 2 of an 8-week ongoing series featuring the authors of the exciting new book, Redefining Possible. This is week 2, and in this episode, we'll interview a former Southwestern consulting coaching client featured in Redefining Possible. He's a wealth management advisor for Northwestern Mutual, and his insights on how he sharpened his focus are truly inspirational. Hope you enjoy.
All right, everybody, we've got Tyler Hjelseth. Tyler, I've been looking forward to being with you today, man. This is Ron Alford coming at you guys. And Tyler's a good friend, hails from Tacoma, Washington area, and not too far from where I'm at. And our paths crossed, roughly 5 years ago now, Tyler. It's crazy to think. And so just seeing his journey, so exciting. I'm excited to kind of dig in on all this with you today. So Tyler, you're specifically featured in our Sharpening Your Focus chapter of the Redefining Possible book. And a lot of your background, a lot of your story, your transformation, your growth is why we put you in the book. And it'll be fun hearing you speak to that. So can you, just to start us off, can you maybe just give us a little background of how you started with Northwestern Mutual, kind of how you got into that whole arena? You're a wealth advisor now, but just maybe kind of how your track record's gone up till today.
Yeah, well, first of all, Ron, I really appreciate you having me on. You know, it's an honor to join you this afternoon. So I first want to just say that, and real believer in everything you guys are doing. But yes, basically graduated college, kind of make a pretty long story short, but graduated college in end of 2011, started with Northwestern Mutual here in March of 2012, so a few months after I graduated college, and honestly knew nothing about the industry, wasn't looking to get into the industry, was actually on a path to potentially get into medicine, go to med school, but I had a buddy at the time that was with the firm, and I think he, probably sent me a Facebook message or something back then, and just kind of asked what my plans were, and I said, hey, kind of went through the process and said, hey, I'll give this a shot, and push comes to shove, and here we are, I guess 9 years later, and but yeah, that's kind of how I got started in the business, and it. I, obviously did some research in what it all entailed, but I really didn't have any idea until kind of getting thrown into it and drinking from a fire hose, and a lot to learn, but that's kind of how I first got started.
Yeah. Well, brother, speak to your growth, because I think your story, I love the fact of how much has shifted since you started. And even just for you to say that this wasn't your natural calling, at least that you knew of. You're from a background, your family has a strong faith, but for you to kind of really, I think a lot of our listeners are all of a sudden, you pull your head up and you're like, wow, I'm in this industry I didn't really plan as a kid. But for you to plant both feet, for you to dig in, and for you to kind of, really grow. For those of you guys that don't know Tyler's background, of course, he's a really ranked nationally within the Northwestern Mutual world, and has grown in the Washington area and the Northwest to be one of the top wealth managers there is. And he's still barely at the age of 30. I know he sounds like he's in his 70s, his voice, but literally he is young and just starting his family. And so for you to not even know that you were going to get into sales and to get into the investment and insurance world, and then to have this track record, man, how did you get both feet dug in so quickly?
Well, I think it's a few things. And I think, I got up when I first started, I would say I got off to a pretty good start. If you kind of look around at what newer advisors were doing, but I think we'll probably talk more about this, but a few things kind of hit me probably a couple of years, year and a half, 2 years into starting this. When you're first starting at anything, it's obviously everything's new, but what for me, I think one of the things that really kind of was a aha moment was, is this going to be a job or is it going to be, a career? And it's easy, I think, in, any type of sales career or job that you just view it as selling. And I kind of struggle with that in my early years, and it took a couple of years for me to understand really the true impact that we can have on our clients' lives and the areas that we can truly help them. So I think what's really key with almost any career, or better yet, a calling, hopefully, people are working in what they view as a calling of theirs, but you got to have a strong belief in what you're actually providing to the people you're working with. And I think it took me a couple of years to really buy into that and really start to understand the impact that we can have on, and even if, people don't become clients, even if you go have a cup of coffee, how can I add value? Even if I'm going to be only talking to this person for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or 15 minutes, can I somehow, make them feel better than when they sat down with me, even if it's a short window of time. But the other thing I would say is, and this sounds cliche, we've heard a lot of this the last 5-10 years, but just going back to your why. And it's clearly, I think a lot of times in business and in sales, we're always focused on the what and the how, but I really do believe that there's got to be a strong purpose behind why are you getting up every morning and going and doing what you're doing. And, for me, I'm a faith guy. And so, love to give as much as we can. And so that's definitely one of my whys is helping others. Obviously my family is huge. I think, another big shift that occurred in our lives was when we had our first son, Leighton, back in 2016. And I can remember vividly that I was home for a few weeks right when he was born, and that was great, of course. But I can remember that first day going back into the office and just thinking on that drive in, it's different now than it was 3 weeks ago, because, even today, of course, I've got two young boys now. And when I leave each morning, they know Dad's going to work. And, the way I view it, any minute I'm here at the office or at work is a minute I'm not with them. And so I better make it count. If I'm telling them I'm going to work, I better go and get stuff done, and that's just kind of been something that stood with me since having kids, of course. But I know, this chapter is about the focus piece, and that was huge as well, which is something that you and I really, really narrowed in on and felt like, I was kind of, I'd say a couple of things on the focus. One is time management is huge. And that's where, we had several discussions a few years ago around what are you really doing with your time? And I'm a big believer that, being busy doesn't mean you're getting anything done. And that was a real eye opener for me, just looking at, yeah, you're at the office, but what are you actually getting done? And it can be easy to go to the office for 8 hours and send emails, respond to emails, and, check your fantasy football lineup and, all the stuff that we can, the water cooler talk. But so that was huge, is going through that exercise, and also looking at that whole what's your time worth exercise. When you actually calculate down to the hour or the minute what your time is actually worth, that was pretty eye-opening to me. And I think one thing that I've done decently well since I've started was not being afraid to invest in other people to help with some of the activities and things that need to get done, but shouldn't be done by me, and really focusing my time on, again, the activities. I think it's those quadrant 4 activities, the ones that are important, not always urgent, but the stuff that, is going to generate new business, the activities that are going to have the biggest impact on your growth. And that's really where I started to focus my time, and really try to delegate all the other stuff to other people on my team. And it's a constant struggle. We still look at ways to do that today. Of course, it never ends. But I think that was a huge eye opener for me. The other part of the focus was also the approach that I had in terms of which types of clients, was I guess, trying to get in front of clients or prospects. And that was also, really started to be very, very specific in terms of who are the people that we can add the most value to. And instead of taking a shotgun approach, definitely taking more of a sniper approach with who we're trying to bring on as a client. And it's a win-win, because we can offer, our services are probably a better fit for some people over others, just depending on. So, we work with a lot of business owners, a lot of, people that are close to retirement or in retirement. And so I guess tightening up that focus as well in terms of, what type of people should we be in front of, and not just anybody and everybody, So those are definitely a few things that I reflect back on and really attribute a lot of the growth we've seen to.
Right on. Yeah. And it's, you said it well, it's never ending, man. Let's keep getting used to it. You and I both, because it's a journey we get to do forever. I'm curious, just knowing your heart and knowing your upbringing, because you did talk about your why. And I think for all of our listeners, we obviously hear that, we're familiar with that. We know how important purpose is and the clarity of our vision. And one of the things we talk a lot about with clients is that the endurance we have in life is directly related to the clarity of my vision. And so my endurance to be a patient dad, my endurance to be, to hit those phones, to get to the gym early tomorrow morning, even though I've got a full day of meetings, to whatever, if I've got a very clear vision, I can get so much more out of it. So you're in a world, so here's my question. You're in a world where Northwestern Mutual is big, like a lot of companies, in tracking. You have your specific goals on your dials, your meetings set, meetings kept, referrals, et cetera. How do you keep that clear focus on serving lives and changing lives and just really making a difference in the world, yet at the same time embrace the numbers? Because you're kind of churning out numbers each week, but yet you got to really focus on how you can make a difference.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that, again, kind of maybe cliche, but when you're truly, I was raised, fortunately with parents that, both from North Dakota, grew up on both of them on farms. And so, work ethic was instilled in my brother and I from day one, but it's also integrity. And so, balancing the numbers with making sure we're serving people well, I think that, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier of we know that not everybody's going to become a client for one reason or another. Maybe it's their choice, maybe it's ours, but our purpose, I really believe, is that, we just add value wherever we can, especially, of course, when it comes to people's financial lives. And, we have tried to kind of, when you first start in this industry, it's probably more, a little more of those activities than it might look like now. But, today I would say that, I feel like we've really got the team set up. Our team, we've got 9 of us here now. And so being able to balance that high quality service, it goes back to that delegating and making sure that, we want clients to all know our team and the great people we have working here. And I think that allows us to kind of balance the volume while still keeping up with our promise to people of taking care of them and really building a long-term relationship with them and their family. And hopefully that helps answer that question a little bit.
So go into your morning, because I'm thinking back to your morning routine. Like, for you, a lot of it I think is getting our head right and our heart right. And like anybody that's driven, you can't accomplish the things that you have accomplished without having this fire, this healthy, this competitive nature, this type A spirit of like, let's go get it. Come on.
Yeah.
Yet if you kind of go into the day and just start crushing numbers, we can get off. And so for you, I remember you really were very specific about your focus of how you started your mornings. And anything you can speak to that you've done that's helped?
Yeah, well, I just, I kind of envision a pyramid, and I'll come back to the morning thing, I promise. But so if you look at a pyramid, I look at 3 rows on the pyramid. The very top triangle would be, what is the big goal we have? Maybe it's for your career or an annual goal, production goal. That's really at least for that time period, the end goal that you want to accomplish. The second row would be kind of your business activities needed to achieve that goal. So that might be the metrics like how many dials do I need to make? How many, new introductions do I need to get? Those are kind of the second row that are going to help you get to that big goal you have. But I think the bottom row of the pyramid is the most important. And those are things like your fitness, your diet, your relationships, your family, faith. If you're a person of faith, that would also be under there. And I think that unless that bottom row is in order, it's very tough to get up and go to work and tell yourself that you can be truly focused on achieving your professional goals. I think a person has to have, and none of us are perfect in those areas, but I think to kind of answer your question, like the morning thing, I know for a fact, I'm going to have way more energy to do the things I want to accomplish at work each day and with my family if I get a workout in the morning. And I'm definitely not, 100% at that. And I don't think, a lot of people aren't, but if I want to be my best that day, I know it should start with a workout. And so, typically it's up at 4:45 or so, the alarm clock goes off, and even if it's, a short, 20, 30 minute, jog or whatever that might be to get the blood flowing. And I also think mentally, that just, it's a place where you're obviously not talking to a bunch of people. And what other times throughout the day do you have that time, especially with young kids, where you just kind of have that to yourself, and you can truly think about what's on the horizon for the day, and what do you need to get done, and what do you want to get done that day. And I think being a sports guy, it's almost, it sounds kind of silly, but that drive into the office each morning is kind of just, you got to kind of get your mind right for what you're going to accomplish that day, or else it's very easy to show up and just, like I said earlier, just kind of be there, but you're not really accomplishing much. And it's now kind of to a point where, and there's days, of course, we all have days where we don't get done what we hope to, or our meetings didn't go as we planned, or, that's all stuff that of course still happens to all of us. But I just want to be able to drive home every day knowing that, I left it all out there, and at least gave myself an opportunity to get the stuff done that I was hoping to. And I think it all starts in the morning, with how you start the day. And that's probably different for everybody, but for me, it's getting the blood flowing, and ideally getting into the Word for a few minutes, even if it's a verse or two. But yeah, that's kind of how I'd answer that question.
Yeah, well said. That's what I remember a lot. I think to me, when you speak about that, it makes me feel like what you're doing is very sustainable. Like, I think anybody can kind of force short-term growth if just, you can come up with some sort of gimmicky, manipulated goal but then there's this roller coaster. So many people live this roller coaster mentality, and you have got great morning habits. I remember that throughout our journey, no matter what you were going through, no matter whether it was when you and Angela were married with no kids, to where then you had kids, your title changed a little bit. Some of your focus at work changed, but one thing you always had was your attention to how you started your day. And there's just something about getting your mind right and getting your heart right. And I think you've been a really good example of that. A question for you on focus, as your life changes, because you had tremendous growth in terms of income and premium, investments, et cetera, while, going from no kids to one kid to two kids, et cetera. By definition, when you add things to your plate, production, staff, children, not in that order, you have to say no to things. I think one of the biggest skills of someone that's growing and not burning out is the ability to say no. And so for you have had a great heart on that. You really worked hard to say no to things that just aren't aligned with your purpose. You made a difficult decision. For a while there, you were thinking about getting deeper into leadership, and then decided to kind of shift. Can you maybe just speak to some of the things you've said no to in life, or how you have that courage? Because a lot of us are people pleasers. We struggle to say no to anything. And you have really worked hard on that.
Yeah. I think, of course, the simple way to put it is, from what we all hear, is there's so many hours in the day, right? And going back to, again, when we had our first son, Leighton, that before then I could, Angela probably wouldn't prefer it, but, I could have got home at 7:00 from work and I definitely had more time to get the stuff done I wanted to before we had kids, right? And that's probably true for everybody, but just that change of kind of what I mentioned earlier of the way you view time. And I still remember that whole session we had on time and some of the pages that we looked at there and just seeing, and not that it's all about, what your time is worth and all that financially, but it's either, with your family or, it's at work. But I think that from the choice I made within Northwestern Mutual a few years ago was, I was also mentoring some people at the time within our company, but also, focusing on my own personal practice. And I just felt like I was giving maybe 70% to both. And I just did not want to, I didn't feel like it was, the people I was mentoring deserve better than 70% of my effort. And also my clients deserve better than 70%. And so I just think there's times where even though it would be great to be involved in as many different things as possible, but going back to the focus thing is just, it's impossible to have too many goals or be involved in too many things. And I think for each person, it just depends on what are you ultimately looking to accomplish with either obviously your time, but, with your career and clearly, family is a big one for a lot of us. And so, just, you have to say no. It's just a fact, so yeah.
Yeah. Well said. I would add, you have to say no if you want to stay aligned with your vision.
Yes.
You don't have to say no. And that's me saying that from a lot of the tougher times of my life where I've struggled to say no. And then I wake up and realize, geez, where have I been off course? And then it's because I'm saying yes to too many things. I love your 70% analogy too, where sometimes we want to be the jack of all trades, but a master of none. And sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm going to really focus on these 4 areas instead of being a little less than in these 8 areas.
Yep.
For each listener, for our listeners, it might be something different. Maybe for them, it's, you don't need to have 8 workouts a week. You don't need to have, I don't know what it is, but for each person, there's things you can say no to. You also have had a fascination with working through people. You have made some courageous decisions. I think a lot of growth comes back to pushing ego aside. And I've really been impressed the way you have been able to kind of give up control and really study, okay, if I can work hard to build this person up I work with and empower them, they end up taking on more, and that frees you up. And that way you get to do what you do best, which is get in front of new people and change lives. Was that easy for you, the giving up control thing, or is that something you've just had good examples, or how have you done that?
Definitely not easy. That's probably one of the things that is a constant, I wouldn't say struggle, but it's something that we're always trying to be mindful of, myself and my business partner now. It's if you know that, these are your strengths, or these are the things that you like doing, or these are the things that are going to, cause you to, maximize profits within whatever industry you're in, you have to figure out how can you get more time for yourself to do those things. And in our industry, we're all independent contractors. So, when we want to hire somebody, it's coming straight out of our pocket. And it definitely, takes some faith and some courage to do that. And I think, I can remember back when I first, I started in 2012 and I had my first team member in 2013. And I think I attribute a lot of it, just to, I've had great mentors here at Northwestern, but my wife, Angela, as well, has always been super supportive, even though, it's like, well, we could have brought home this month, but now we're paying someone. And it started with someone at 10 hours a week. I shared with two other advisors. I only was entitled to 10 hours a week of that person's time. And now we're up to 9 people, 7 people if you exclude CW and myself. But I'll never forget someone in our industry or our company said, when I first started, they said, if you think that you're ready to hire someone, you're 6 months late. So the whole point was, we all need help a lot faster than we think we do. And it is a leap, but if that frees you up to be able to do more things that are going to cause growth within your company or your role, then you have to make those investments.
Yeah, well said. And I think there's 2 parts. One is the courage. I love how you said, and that's powerful, man. You started in 2012. By 1 year later, 2013, you already had staff. You already had made the decision to invest. And how many of us would have been just, in a place where it's like, I don't have the income yet to start spending. But there's also the flip side. So one is it takes courage to spend that money to grow, invest in yourself, basically. But then number 2 is the time that's freed up, honoring that time. And now that you have someone taking things off your plate, you now by nature should have that extra. Let's say you're hiring them for 10 hours, you're going to have at least 5 to 8 hours a week extra. Well, you need to hit the phones, having accountability to do those income producing activities that helped your production grow. I'm sure Angela, looking back now, is thankful she was so willing to let you because you've grown like crazy and you've helped a lot of people. So dude, I have one other question for you, man. And I think right now, obviously we're in this time of pandemic. We're in the time where so many people are searching and, so many people have a lack of clarity or have had some severe setbacks in their family. Maybe it's business and income. Maybe it's just what they feel inspired to do or called to do. But for anybody that's going through valleys, that's going through challenges, what would you say to speak to that? Just in terms of things you've got through, things you've seen. You study your clients' lives too, man. I know you get very personal with a lot of your clients. And not only in Tyler's life, but you've got a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that are going through severe, big decisions and challenges. Anything you would pass on to all of our listeners that have helped you or you've seen help get people through that?
Yeah, well, I think I'm a big believer in mentors, and I would say that, of course, I would hope that anybody listening might have that, even if it's just that one person that they can talk to. And I think that a lot, even myself, of course, that, even just saying things out loud, talking to somebody about whatever it is you're going through. And definitely, obviously, today, right now, there's a lot of that. But I'm also, a lot of things may not be in our control, but one thing my dad's always said is, control the controllables. And again, for each person, that might be something different, but just going back to the simple example of the workouts, that's something that, everybody can control that. You're not relying on anyone else. Everybody can control, what time they, go to bed at night. And I think it's just keep doing the things that you can, despite what you're going through. Talk to anybody that has been a mentor or friend to you. Whenever I'm going through something, it's, probably my brother, my dad, someone I'm going to get their thoughts on how, what should I be doing here? Someone like yourself as well, especially from a business standpoint. But I think just trying to keep getting the wins that you can throughout the day that you may, a lot of other stuff we can't control. But I think just for your own well-being, as well as just staying somewhat sane throughout what's going on, just I think that consistency is where, I think consistency is a powerful word. And being able to do the things that are important through the good times and the bad times. And whether that's just being there for your family, for your kids, showing up to work, getting things done. And of course there's, everybody's got different challenges and struggles, but like I said, I'm a guy of faith as well. So, for me, it would be cracking open the word, even if it's for, a minute or two. And it's amazing how much different that even just a minute or two can completely change your whole perspective on an issue or a challenge or a struggle that you might be going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. I think back to the many years we worked together. The word consistency that you just spoke of, man, you are an incredible example of that. So consistency of the controllables. And I love that, because the world around us, if it's not our income, it's our marriage or one of our kids or something. And, if the things you can control, you lock in on, man. So you're such a good example of that. Well, buddy, thank you. I know you got a lot on your plate. You got meetings set today, and you got meetings you got to keep today. You just true to your life, man. You got a lot of integrity and just a lot of heart to help people. I know personally, you have meant a big deal in my life, for my kids, and even introducing me to my wife years ago. And so it speaks to your heart, and how for you, it's not just about income or premium or awards or accolades. Where our book goes, the ending principle is impact. Anything and everything, it starts with focus and what we're actually going after, but then it really ends in impact. And so just thank you, Tyler, for being an awesome example of that.
I really appreciate it, Ron. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and thanks for all you've done.
Yep, you bet. We'll see you soon, buddy.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. To stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst, and Twitter at Catalyst_Action. Thanks for listening. This episode is sponsored by Southwestern Coaching. Southwestern Coaching has helped over 12,000 people increase their incomes by over 25% on average. As a successful salesperson, you know the importance of increasing your sales, but sometimes you might just need a little extra push and accountability to meet your goals and grow your business. Southwestern Coaching will help you increase your income through one-on-one sales and leadership coaching tailored specifically to your needs. Together, we will elevate sales. To schedule your free one-on-one business action planning session with a Southwestern coach, go to www.southwesternconsulting.com/action catalyst.